I'm a single mom with 2 kids. My ex-husband and I split custody, switching off month by month. My son Luke is 15, and my daughter Melissa is 10. This happened a few months ago. One night after work, I stopped to do some grocery shopping. Earlier that evening, Luke had texted me to say he was heading out with his friends. It was a Friday, and I was not exactly happy about him leaving Melissa home alone. Still, at 10 years old, plenty of parents start trusting their kids to stay by themselves for a couple of hours. I also knew I could not expect Luke to act as her babysitter forever. I pulled into the driveway around 9 that night. I had bought way too many groceries. As usual during the months the kids stay with me. When I am alone, I barely buy anything, but when they are home, I go overboard. It took me 3 or 4 trips back and forth from the car to bring everything inside. After putting it all away in the fridge and pantry, I headed upstairs to say hi to Melissa. I could hear the shower running in the bathroom, so I went back downstairs and stretched out on the couch to watch something on Netflix. I was about halfway through an episode when I realized I still had not heard her come out of the bathroom. I do not allow my kids to waste water, and long showers are not cheap. I went upstairs and knocked on the door, telling her she needed to finish up soon. Then I went back down and continued watching my show. About 5 minutes later, the shower was still going. I walked back upstairs and knocked again, this time louder. I waited for her to answer me, but there was no response. I knocked harder and called her name, feeling irritated. That was when I noticed something strange. Through the small gap at the bottom of the door, I could see that the bathroom light was off. I tried the handle, but it was locked. The interior locks in my house can be opened easily, even with a fingernail, so I worked it open. By then, my annoyance had started turning into concern. As I pushed the door open, I called out to my daughter, still thinking she was in there. I flipped on the light and walked toward the bathtub. I pulled the shower curtain back, not knowing what I would find. Never in my worst nightmare did I imagine seeing a woman who looked to be in her 50s, lying flat in the tub with the water pouring over her. I let out a scream so loud and so long that my voice gave out. My back hit the mirror behind me, and everything sitting on the counter crashed to the floor. I felt frozen in pure shock and terror. The woman slowly stood up in the tub and stared at me. Her hair and clothes were completely soaked. I slammed the bathroom door shut and screamed Melissa's name. I ran straight to her bedroom and found her hiding under her blankets. I pulled her up and hurried her out of the room. As we passed the bathroom on our way to the stairs, the woman was standing in the doorway. There was something unnatural about the way she looked and moved. Her eyes seemed empty, almost lifeless. I grabbed my phone and locked Melissa and myself in the spare room in the basement. I called the police immediately. While we waited, Melissa told me she thought it had been me who came home. When she saw a strange, frightening woman walking up the stairs instead, she ran to her room and hid. Luke had left the front door unlocked when he went out. The police arrived quickly. After they made sure the house was clear, I told them everything Melissa had said and described the woman as best as I could. Because she had been drenched in water, it was hard to give many details, except that her hair was long and gray. The officers searched everywhere. Under beds, inside closets, behind doors, even in the bathroom again. She was gone. She had slipped out of the house just as easily as she had come in. My guess is that she was under the influence of something. I have never seen someone look so disconnected from reality, yet still be able to walk around. I do not even know what charges could have been filed if they had found her. They never did. And you can be sure Luke received a serious lecture that night. Always lock your doors. This happened more than 15 years ago. Our family had taken a trip to a resort in New York State. Our 2 boys were only 4 and 6 at the time. The story centers around our older son, Michael Jr., who was 6 back then. We were there close to Easter, so the resort had organized all kinds of themed activities for the kids, including egg hunts, Easter decorations during bingo, and someone walking around dressed in a large Easter bunny costume. One evening in the dining hall, the Easter bunny was making his way from table to table, giving the children high fives. When he approached us, our youngest Peter immediately ducked under the table and started crying. He was always terrified of characters in costumes. Michael Jr., on the other hand, happily gave the bunny a high five and seemed completely comfortable. The man in the costume moved along quickly, probably because Peter was crying so hard. The following day, there was a big Easter egg hunt in a field near the kids' center at the resort. I stood watching the children rush around collecting eggs while my husband, Mike, was somewhere else. I honestly do not remember what he was off doing at the time. The Easter bunny was out in the field again, walking around and interacting with the children. I noticed he clearly avoided Peter, which I appreciated. Whenever the bunny came too close, Peter would run straight to me. He reacted the same way around Santa during Christmas. Meanwhile, the man in the bunny costume seemed to be giving Michael a lot of attention. I thought it was sweet at first. Still, I kept Peter away so he would not start crying again, and I walked him to the opposite side of the play area for a few minutes. After a while, when it looked like the Easter bunny had moved on, I brought Peter back to where I had last seen Michael Jr., but he was not there. I began calling his name. That was when another parent approached me and asked if I was looking for a little boy wearing a red sweater. I said yes, and she told me she had seen the man in the Easter bunny costume leading him out of the field toward the parking lot. Her voice had a hint of worry in it. Without thinking twice, I scooped Peter up into my arms and ran in the direction she pointed. I have never run so fast in my life, especially while carrying my younger son. Pure instinct and adrenaline took over. Then I saw them. The man in the bunny suit was holding my child's hand and walking toward a black car. I screamed at him as loudly as I could to get away from my son. Then I yelled Michael's name. They both turned toward me, and the man immediately released his grip. Michael ran back to me, completely unaware of how serious the situation was. The man claimed he was trying to help find his mother because he thought the boy was lost. That was complete nonsense. He was about to put my 6-year-old into his car. I tried to pull the mask off his head, but he shoved me away and told me to get lost. He jumped into the car and sped off. I attempted to catch the license plate number, but he disappeared too quickly. I called my husband on my old cell phone and told him what happened. Then I took both boys straight to the front desk to meet him. The staff told us that the man in the Easter bunny costume was not employed by the resort. I was furious. I raised my voice at the employees, who admitted they had noticed the man around, but had not stopped him or questioned him. We threatened legal action against the resort. In the end, they refunded our entire stay, which we accepted. But the truth is, I was only seconds away from losing my son forever. We adopted our son Charlie when he was 2 years old. He has always known he was adopted. From the time he began learning how to talk, we were open and honest with him about it. He is 7 now. We do not have any biological children because my wife is unable to have kids. Not long ago, my wife and I began noticing some very unsettling behavior from Charlie. What finally pushed me to sit down and write this is something that to this day we still cannot explain. Upstairs, we turned one of the extra bedrooms into a toy room just for him. There are 2 spare rooms in our house, and one is completely his. He has a large toy closet in there, along with a Lego table, action figures, and all kinds of other things. For about a month, at random times, we would hear Charlie talking when he was alone. It was not the usual kind of talking kids do while acting out stories with their toys. It sounded like he was having an actual conversation with someone else in the room. The first time I heard it, my wife was not home. I was walking past the playroom when I clearly heard him speaking, as if another child was in there with him. I even walked in to check, just to be certain he did not actually have someone over. When I stepped inside, he was sitting at his Lego table with a couple of his WWE action figures in front of him. He was not moving them or playing with them at that moment. He was simply sitting there, staring blankly at me. I asked him who he was talking to. He just shrugged. As strange as it felt, I convinced myself he was just playing pretend. The next incident was much more disturbing. This time my wife was home and saw it with me. We were both in the kitchen while Charlie was outside in the backyard. Suddenly, we heard him laughing and talking. My wife went to the window to see what he was doing and then motioned for me to come look. Charlie was standing there, speaking to nothing. It looked like he was demonstrating how to use the plastic sword he was holding to someone invisible. I told my wife I was starting to feel uneasy about it. She suggested he might simply have an imaginary friend. I admitted I was not sure how to feel about that. She seemed to think it was completely normal for a child his age. Then came the third or fourth time something happened. It was around 9 at night on a school day, close to his bedtime. He was still in the playroom, and I was giving him a few extra minutes before sending him to bed. I heard him laughing and talking to his unseen companion again. Curiosity got the better of me, so I opened the playroom door quietly. Just as I did, I heard the closet door slam shut. Charlie was standing in the middle of the room, with toys scattered all around him. I asked him who was in the closet. From inside, something fell. It sounded like a large plastic toy hitting the floor. I raised my voice and asked again who was in there. He calmly said George. I pulled the closet door open quickly, half expecting to find one of his friends hiding inside. I even considered the possibility that my wife had allowed a sleepover without telling me. But the closet was empty, except for toys. I picked Charlie up even though he protested and carried him to his bedroom. I told him it was time for bed. Then I explained to my wife what had just happened about the closet door closing and the toy falling. At first she thought I was joking, but she could tell by my face that I was not. That night, I woke up to noises coming from down the hall in the toy room. We always sleep with our bedroom door open. I nudged my wife awake and told her to follow me quietly. We walked softly to the playroom. Charlie was not inside, but we could hear a clear, steady clicking sound coming from the toy closet. I opened the closet door, trying to appear brave in front of my wife. The clicking stopped immediately. We searched through the toys, looking for anything electronic that could have made that sound. We found nothing. That was the night I started to believe something was truly wrong. The next morning I woke to my wife screaming. She was standing there holding our wedding photo. The glass was cracked straight down the center, and so was the frame. The split ran perfectly between the two of us in the picture. We packed up Charlie and stayed at my mother's house for a week. After that week, my wife and I returned to the house alone. We put it on the market. Once a few quiet days passed without anything strange happening, we brought Charlie back home. Even so, we moved out for good a month later.